Hello. I hope you are having a good day. Today we will talk about a story in which a former Special Forces agent is placed in command of a unit that must hunt down and kill the creator of an extraordinary artificial intelligence with the ability to annihilate all of humanity. So today we will see a movie called The Creator. In an alternate version of Earth, humanity begins to develop robots with advanced AI called simulants, or simply Sims. They quickly become part of everyday life, and to make them more human-like, people volunteer to have their faces scanned and recreated in robots. Soon, the Sims are not only workers, but also companions, athletes, and even law enforcement agents. In 2055, a nuclear warhead detonates in Los Angeles due to a simulator created by the government, incinerating nearly 1 million people. The Western world unites to ban any use of AI, but New Asia continues to support and even grant Sims equal citizenship. The United States begins a mission to eradicate all Sims and constantly attacks New Asia to achieve its goals. Its most important weapon is Nomad, a massive orbital station created to scan the terrain for Sims and eliminate them quickly. The main objective of the military is to find someone called Nirmata, the leader and scientist behind the AI advances. 10 years later, a group of American soldiers appears on the coast of New Asia while Nomad scans the area from the sky. Nearby, Joshua lives with his pregnant wife Maya, who has a very distinctive tattoo. Suddenly, they hear a noise, so Joshua puts on his robotic prosthetic limbs to investigate and finds his Sim friends, a group of guards led by Haroon, who have captured an American soldier named Drew after finding him sneaking through the area. A Sim strikes Drew to force him to speak, but Drew remains silent as Nomad approaches. The group decides it is time to leave and find a new hideout, so Haroon's team hurries to prepare the boats while Maya packs their belongings. Once alone, Joshua scolds Drew for not giving him more time. It turns out that Joshua is also an American soldier on an undercover mission and is married to Maya because she is Nirmata's daughter. When the Sims encounter the Americans, a shootout begins outside. Joshua takes Drew's radio and begs the commander to stop the raid because Nirmata is not with them. Maya overhears this and becomes furious upon realizing Joshua never really left the army as he had promised. She points her weapon at him only to be interrupted by soldiers dragging Joshua out of the house. Maya flees and joins the Sims on the boats, but at that moment, Nomad launches a missile that kills them all. 5 years later, Joshua is back in the United States trying to adapt to civilian life. He takes many medications for his post-traumatic stress disorder and regularly visits a therapist who uses a lie detector to ensure he is not hiding information. He works in Ground Zero as part of a cleanup crew, and one afternoon he and his co-worker find a robot that suddenly activates, shaking its limbs while begging for mercy. This causes his co-worker to panic because of how real it sounds, but Joshua immediately shuts it off and reminds him that they are only machines without feelings. All robots they find are taken to be destroyed. Sometime later at home, Joshua watches videos of Maya while remembering the time she personalized his robotic limbs. He recalls that he lost them when the nuclear bomb detonated in Los Angeles. The same day he also lost his entire family. Later, while swimming, he is suddenly approached by General Andrews and Colonel Howell, who want him to help with a mission. They have learned that Nirmata is developing a superweapon capable of destroying Nomad, and without the station, the United States would lose the war. Joshua is the only one who knows the design of the laboratory, so he must guide a team to destroy the superweapon. At first, Joshua refuses, pointing out that they would not be in this situation if they had not ruined his mission, and reminding them that they killed his wife. However, he quickly changes his mind when Howell shows him a holographic video proving that Maya is still alive and working on the superweapon. In the middle of the night, Joshua joins Howell's team and flies to New Asia. After Nomad scans the area, the team lands in a field, and Joshua leads them toward the laboratory, only to discover that a village has been built on top of it. The soldiers decide to invade and begin interrogating the villagers, keeping them on their knees at gunpoint. McBride threatens to shoot a little girl's dog, which makes the girl cry and wave her arm. Joshua notices she is pointing at an altar, and when he turns a totem, the entrance to the laboratory appears. McBride and Bradbury stay outside as guards while the rest of the team enters the lab, moving through a long corridor to find the technicians and eliminate them all. Joshua checks the security cameras and sees that Maya should also be nearby. The team continues shooting more scientists, but this time the workers close the bulletproof doors. Joshua explains that the locks can only be opened with facial recognition, so one of the soldiers grabs a knife to cut the face off a dead technician. Meanwhile, Bradbury sees police approaching, so she fires missiles before pretending to surrender. The police try to arrest her, but at that moment her missiles land, killing all the Sims instantly. Soon more police arrive and open fire on her, forcing her to take cover. The team advances deeper into the laboratory and finds a vault that must be hacked to access. Shipley and Joshua stay behind to work on it, while the others rush to fight the incoming guards. However, they begin losing men, and Shipley hurries to help them. When the computer finally finishes hacking the lock, the vault opens and Joshua enters, only to find a couch with a little girl watching television. Joshua is shocked to discover that the child is a Sim, something never done before. Suddenly, a scientist appears behind him and shoots him, then opens an emergency exit for the girl, telling her to find Nirmata. The girl leaves the laboratory and observes the outside world for the first time, but also witnesses heavy fighting in the field. Joshua follows her, trying to find Maya among the fleeing scientists, without success. The rest of the team returns to the plane, explaining they lost the battle and must leave before Nomad fires. However, Howell insists on checking something first and departs. Bradbury also tries to return, running as fast as possible, but something hits her in the back. Even so, she manages to board the plane before takeoff, only to discover a bomb attached to her body that explodes in mid-air. The plane crashes nearby just before Nomad bombards the area, knocking Joshua unconscious. The next morning, Joshua wakes up on a boat and realizes the robot girl is staring at him. He throws a stone at her to make her leave, but she simply throws it back. Joshua explores the area and finds Shipley wounded, so he lifts him up and carries him to an empty house to avoid the police searching the area. Suddenly, they hear a noise and discover the girl has followed them and is now watching television. Joshua turns it off, but the girl turns it back on with a simple hand gesture, making Joshua realize she is the super weapon. At that moment, Joshua's communicator rings with a call from Howell, which attracts the attention of a nearby farmer Sim. Joshua tells Howell about the girl, and the colonel orders him to kill her, but the conversation is interrupted when Howell is surrounded by police. She is immediately arrested and placed in a truck with McBride and Officer Bai. Back with Joshua, he hesitates to shoot a child and lowers his weapon when he notices the girl drawing Maya's tattoo. Suddenly, the farmer finds them and promises to protect Alfie. Joshua's translator reveals the Sim's plan, so he quickly shoots, killing the farmer but also alerting the police to their location. Joshua then asks Alfie where he can find Maya, and the child tells him she is in Diandang. At that moment, the police surround the house and open fire, so Joshua drags Shipley and the girl to the farmer's truck. When the police throw a grenade, a dog grabs it and carries it outside, exploding and killing all the policemen while barking. The remaining pieces scatter. Then the girl uses her power to activate the truck, and the group manages to escape. Meanwhile, McBride and Howell join forces to kill Bay and take control of the truck, turning it around to search for Joshua. Sometime later, Shipley points a gun at Joshua, asking to be taken to a hospital, but Joshua explains they are too far from any American base and promises to take him to see a friend. Unfortunately, Shipley's wounds are too severe and he dies in the truck. At that moment, Joshua notices a car approaching, so he hides the robotic head of the girl with a hat, and since she has no name, he calls her Alfie because her ear reads Alpha Omega. When the car stops, Joshua approaches the driver with his weapon to demand a ride to the city. Moments later, McBride and Howell find the abandoned car and Shipley's body. Howell uses a device to transfer Shipley's consciousness into Bowie's simulated body for 30 seconds. But Shipley panics upon seeing his own corpse and only manages to say that Joshua was taking him to see a friend before dying once again. That night, the car is stopped at a checkpoint because the authorities have received wanted posters for Joshua and Alfie. Joshua hides in the back seat, but a policeman sees Alfie and asks her to remove her hat. Alfie uses her power to cause a blackout in the area, then distracts everyone with sparks on a sign and reactivates the car, controlling it to successfully drive into the city and escape the police. Their escape is shared across police frequencies, so Howell and McBride also find out. Meanwhile, an officer with the same donor face as Bowie discovers the bodies along the road. Later in the city, Joshua tries to ask Alfie where Dian Dang is, but Alfie does not respond. At that moment, operations appear, so Joshua drags Alfie onto a train to escape. Joshua sees other women who look like Maya, but they are only Sims carrying her donated face. During the trip, Alfie asks many existential questions, and Joshua explains that good people go to heaven. He admits he does not believe he is good enough for that, and Alfie says she does not believe she can go either because she is not a person. After falling asleep, Joshua remembers the day Drew gave him the mission to marry Maya to obtain information. Drew also gave him a wedding ring that contained a special tracker inside. At night, the duo leaves the train and sees their wanted posters across all city screens, while a citizen notices and calls the police. Joshua takes Alfie to a simulation factory to see his friend, who turns out to be Drew. After the night of the attack, Drew changed sides and is now pro-AI, to the point of dating a sim named Cammy. Joshua asks Drew to tell Alfie Maya's location, but the child is extremely encrypted. When Joshua asks if he can locate Maya's ring, Drew says she is dead, but Joshua refuses to believe it. While Cammy distracts Alfie, Drew reveals the results of his inspection to Joshua. Alfie is capable of growing. At this moment, her powers are limited, but she will eventually grow and gain the ability to control all technology remotely. At that moment, Alfie tells Cammy that someone is coming to get her, but when Cammy checks, it is only the food delivery. After she closes the door, the delivery man reveals himself to be the other boy, joined by a group of police officers before activating a bomb inside the food box that kills Cammy. The police enter and attempt to capture Alfie, but Joshua arrives and begins shooting them all while Alfie calmly watches television. Joshua shoots Bowie's face and uses a policeman's weapon to defeat the remaining Sims, but he can hear more police vehicles approaching. He grabs Alfie and a grief-stricken Drew to escape just before the police arrive. While the Sims search the building, two officers reveal themselves to be Howell and McBride. Howell takes Cammy's head and plans to hack her as well. Sometime later, Drew's computer tracks the ring and locates it in Joshua's old home. When they arrive, Joshua immediately enters the house only to find the ring lying on the flooded floor. While watching security footage of the attack, Alfie comes to warn him that soldiers are approaching, but Joshua bursts out and yells at her. Alfie begins to cry, and Joshua finally sees her as a person, hugging her and apologizing. Suddenly, Drew enters to warn them of the attack, but he is shot down. Before dying, he reveals to Joshua that Maya is Nirmata, and that is why they attacked 5 years ago. They were never allowed to tell Joshua because of his love for her. Joshua tries to flee with Alfie but is immediately surrounded by Sim soldiers led by Harun, and Joshua is knocked unconscious. That night, Joshua dreams of when he met Maya in a bar and the story she told him. Her father had taught her everything about AI, but she had to flee after the war began and was raised by the simulants, who loved her as much as a human would. The next morning, Joshua wakes up in a cell inside a ship. Harun comes to see him and explains more. Maya's father was the original Nirmata, but after his death she became the new one and created Alfie to stop Nomad. The nuclear bombing in Los Angeles was caused by a human programming error, yet the blame was placed on the machine. If the Sims win the war, they do not plan to harm the Western world. They only want to live in peace. The army has been using Joshua's desire to see Maya to guide them to her. Haroon considers killing Joshua but is interrupted by an explosion outside. Nomad is bombing their base. Joshua convinces Alfie to help him escape, and they jump into the sea while soldiers fire into the water. Once they assume Joshua is dead, the ship takes off, unaware he is hiding beneath. When they reach the city, Joshua sneaks in and observes how Sims and humans live in harmony. People even cry for fallen robots, and a simulation teacher speaks to children about peaceful coexistence. At night, Joshua waits for Haroon to fall asleep and presses a button on his head to put him in standby mode. Joshua tries to escape with Alfie on a boat, but at that moment an alarm announces the arrival of the Americans. Huge tanks begin destroying buildings and firing missiles, and after seeing this, Alfie leaves Joshua because she wants to help her people. Death and destruction consume the area, and both sides lose many soldiers. Howell sends a basic robot across the bridge, and it explodes to kill even more soldiers. Then Howell sends a second walking bomb, but Alfie stops it and deactivates it with her powers. Unfortunately, McBride appears and shoots Alfie, enraging Joshua, who leaps to kill him. The bomb reactivates, so Joshua runs with the child before it destroys the bridge. Haroon agrees to take Joshua to see Nirmata to repair Alfie while the others continue fighting. Not far away, Howell rebuilds Cammy to hurt her and extract information, then kills her again. During the journey, Haroon reveals that Maya had finished creating Alfie days before the attack and had scanned her own embryo to make her, meaning Alfie is a copy of Joshua's deceased baby. Finally, some monks take Alfie to a special temple, and Joshua asks if this place is Dian Dang. The monk explains that the word means heaven, implying Maya is dead. Devastated, Joshua enters the temple and finds Alfie recovered, resting beside Maya's body, which is connected to a machine. Another monk explains that Maya has been like this for 5 years, but is not truly alive. The machine only keeps her body functioning. Sims cannot harm Nirmata, so it falls to Joshua to disconnect her. Crying, Joshua apologizes for everything and shuts down the machine. At that moment, the Americans arrive and begin killing all the Sims in the area. Howell enters the temple, pointing a gun at Joshua while downloading Maya's consciousness onto a chip. Haroon appears and shoots Howell, but 2 soldiers shoot him in return. Howell approaches to see his state, but it turns out he has a bomb on his back that Alfie activates, killing her and the 2 soldiers. Haroon then rises and tells Joshua to destroy Nomad, so Joshua leaves with Alfie and Maya's chip. Unfortunately, the Americans immediately find them, separating them before taking them away, as Nomad bombards the area. Later, at the Los Angeles base, Andrews tells Joshua to kill Alfie because they cannot extract any information from her. Joshua approaches and whispers something to Alfie, making her furious. And when her vital signs drop on the screen, Andrews assumes she is dead. Joshua then takes Alfie to the incinerator, but on the way, Alfie reveals she is fine. Joshua only asked her to enter standby mode. The girl uses her powers to crash the vehicle and block the road, giving Joshua time to free her and escape. The duo runs to the spaceport where Alfie uses her powers to activate the boarding system and allow them to pass. As they escape in a plane, Andrews sends orders to the pilot to return, but Alfie once again uses her abilities to guide the plane toward Nomad. After all civilians disembark, guards enter, but Joshua opens the door to create a vacuum that blows them into the sky. Joshua then prepares an explosive, and Andrews responds by launching a massive strike on all simulation bases. When Joshua sees the missiles arming, he gives Maya's chip to Alfie and tells her to stop the attack while he installs the explosive. Alfie runs through the corridors until she reaches the correct room and uses her power to stop all missiles just in time. Meanwhile, Joshua sets the bomb to detonate in 10 minutes. Alfie runs back but takes the wrong hallway and finds a chamber full of sleeping Sims, including one resembling Maya. She immediately inserts the chip, but sadly, it does not work. At that moment, a few missiles manage to fall and destroy some robot villages. Joshua's suit runs out of oxygen, but Alfie appears and carries him into an air-filled chamber while preparing the escape pod. Andrews, furious, launches his last weapon, a giant octopus-like robot that captures Alfie. Joshua quickly closes the escape pod door, cutting off the robot's tentacles and freeing her. As Andrews prepares another massive strike, the robot captures Joshua, but Alfie uses her powers to force it to release him. The pod door was damaged in the attack, and as the duo struggles with it, the bomb finally detonates. As Nomad begins to explode, the attacks are canceled, and the missiles land without detonating. With no time left, Joshua tells Alfie he will meet her in heaven before releasing the pod. Joshua then steps out of the chamber to await the end, only to see Maya's simulator active. The lovers run toward each other and kiss before the explosion kills them both. Alfie's pod lands safely on Earth, and she joins the celebration of the simulants who are finally free. I hope you enjoyed the video.